Hello everyone, Tanner with JR Propo. Today I wanted to show you how to set up a new model on the Elite radio. We'll keep it basic for the setup for this. This is a 50cc model, uses one aileron servo on each wing, one elevator servo on each side of the airplane, one rotor servo, one throttle servo, and it uses one ignition kill. Alright, on the Elite we got to create a new model, so go ahead and tap this icon down here to open up the apps. We're going to tap on System, and then we're going to go to Model Select. It's going to ask you if you want to turn the RF off. Click Yes. And now this is the Model Select menu. Go ahead and tap on New to create a new model, and tap Yes. Now it's going to ask you what type of aircraft do you want to set up. Helicopter, airplane, or glider. We're just going to stick with airplane. Now this is going to take a second to set up the new model.
Flight mode 03.
Now when this menu pops up, you're going to see your new model. It's going to be highlighted with this red colored box. We're going to want to give the model a new name, so go ahead and tap up here in the empty box. This is going to bring up this screen, and you can type in your new model name. Once you got your model name typed in, tap on Done, and now you have the model named. Alright, now we need to bind the model. So go ahead and tap on this key up here. This will take you back to the apps menu. Now you're going to want to tap on Bind and Range. In this menu you can bind a model. You can change the model ID. We're going to leave it at 2 since this is model 2. And you can also do a range check. So if you tap this and you tap Yes, you'll notice that the LED at the top of the radio is blinking, and it says range check on. Now to get out of range check, just tap on again, and it's going to ask you if you want to return to the standard signal power. Tap Yes. To bind your model, all you need to do is switch the power on. Now you can see the receiver's blinking. And then tap Bind on the Elite. After a few seconds, it'll say success, and your model will power up. Alright, let's tap this top key to go back to the app menu. Now we're going to go into channel setting. And this is the menu where you can manually assign channels on the receiver. For this setup, we're going to stick with PWM mode. We're not actually going to go to Xbus mode yet. So on this model, since we have 2 elevator servos, we need to assign the channel for this elevator servo here. You can see it's in the up position, and when we work the gimbal, only one elevator works. On this model, I have the other elevator servo plugged into channel 8 here, so we're going to tap on aux 08, and then we're going to set elevator. And as you can hear, it set it to elevator right away. Now, as you can see, both elevators are working. However, they're going the wrong direction, so we need to reverse one of them. Alright, to reverse a channel, tap on the top key here to go back to the app menu. And now we're actually going to go to the function menu up here. And you're going to look for reverse switch. Now once you're in here, locate the channel that's reversed. In this case, mine is channel 3 for the elevator. This is the one that's reversed. Tap on this. It's going to ask you if you want to confirm, so tap Yes. And now you can see both elevators are going the same direction. And they are going the correct direction. So we push forward on the stick. Both go down. If we pull back, both elevators go up. And now you're going to repeat these steps for each of your channels to set your channels correctly. I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera real quick, get my aileron set, as well as assign a function for my throttle kill, and then we'll be right back. Now one more thing before I forget, you need to make sure you change the input correctly. So go ahead and tap on this, and then it's going to bring up this graphic of the transmitter. And since we are doing the elevator, we need to set it to the elevator stick. I'm flying mode 2, so this gimbal here going this direction is my elevator. So go ahead and tap on the gimbal, And you can kind of see these arrows. They're a little bit ghostly looking. But if you tap on this, it'll select it. And now you can see the gimbal has been selected. Now once you've got your device selected, go ahead and tap on the lower key here. This will bring you back to the channel setting menu. And as you can see, the input has been changed. Alright, made a couple changes off camera, but everything here is all set and ready to go. So go ahead and push this key down here, and this will take you back to the app menu. Now it's time to set up travel and rates. So we're going to go ahead and tap on the function menu. And the first menu we're going to do is travel adjust. We need to set the endpoints for elevator, rudder, and aileron. So go ahead and tap on travel adjust to enter that menu. Alright, in this menu, everything is defaulted to 100% in both direction. So you're just going to tap on each one of these, and it's going to bring up this value function. And in here, you can change it in 1% values, 10% values, or you can even go, if you're at 0, you can use this to go all the way back to 100. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and set up the elevator. I'm going to do that off camera real quick, but I'm going to use a measuring device like this one to measure the throw of the elevator and get it even on the left side here and the right side. All right, as you can see, we've got both elevators set, and the percentages are fairly close to each other. So that's a good thing. If they're wildly off from each other, you got to do a little bit of investigating to figure out what's going on there. But as far as up and down goes, the percentages are very close. All right, from there, make sure you do your throttle, your rudder, and both of your ailerons. Okay, now if you got a control surface that's off, like this aileron, we can use subtrim. I know that the mechanical setup on this is correct because I've flown this airplane many times. So we're just going to change subtrim on this. So this aileron is plugged into channel 7 here. So we're going to tap on that one. And just change the values until you get the surface back to center. So the left aileron here took about 18 points of subtrim to get it right back to center. Once you get the subtrim correct, then you can set the control throws. Okay, we got both ailerons and both elevators set. The rudder is right where I need it. So we can go ahead and move on to setting some dual rates, and you definitely are going to want some Expo. All right, we're going to do the dual rate and Expo menu. This menu can get kind of complicated, so I'm going to try and keep it as simple as I can. So I've already set up my ailerons, but we're going to go ahead and set up elevator. So tap on that and select elevator, and now it's going to bring you to the elevator menu. If all you want is one rate, just set your Expo. Since we already set endpoints, you don't need to mess with the dual rates here. And it is positive Expo on this radio. Now there's two ways to do Expo on this. You can use the normal curve, which is what's here. And this is what I use. It seems to work the best. Or if you want to be a little more precise and change up some of the curve, you can change it to a curve. Now, in order to set points, you actually have to physically move the stick. And you'll see that the red line moves across the screen. And you'll see that this add function appears at the top here. You just tap add wherever you want, and you can see that it adds a point. And in order to change those values where they are, this is going to be a little difficult for me to do one-handed, but you basically move the red line to that point, and you can see how it highlights it over here. So moving up the way, we get to 0.3, and then so on and so forth. You can add, I believe, up to 5 points on both sides. The short and sweet of it is just move the stick to that point. It's going to tell you where its input is, and you can manually change it here. So let me see if we can get this here. So if I move this, you can see how it moves the point. So that's input, so that's what the stick is controlling. The output is what goes to the airplane. So let me see if I can try to get the output here and just change it just to kind of show you so you can see how it moves. And then you're definitely going to want to turn the Expo on for this line because it'll smooth it out, as you can see there. So if I turn it back off, you can see how it gets all notchy. Turn it back on, gets smooth. So if anybody needs an in-depth video on how to set the curve function for your Expo, let me know. I'll do a video on just that. But for now, we're going to keep this at normal, which allows you just to set a percentage here. All right, if you just want one rate like I normally fly, then you're pretty much done. Just set your rudder. Make sure you also set your aileron too. Now, if you do want your rates to be switched, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as I can. So we're going to tap on this icon right here. And this is going to pull up the switch select menu. It looks a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try and simplify it. So we got to start with the first rate where it says on. Now it says on because it's enabled by default. There's no switch. The switch is on. You get 100% rates. But we definitely want to select a switch for this. So go ahead and tap on the switch icon. Now it's going to bring up this graphic of the transmitter. And in this menu, you can pick any one of the functions. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to use this switch over here. So I'm going to tap on it. And now it's going to bring up this side of the radio, and you can actually select this switch here. And depending on what position you want your rates at, depends on which one of these positions you select. So for the first one, I'm just going to select position 0. This is all the way away from you. And so this will be position 0. We're going to do this as position 1 and this as position 2. So this way will be high rates, this way will be mid rates, this way will be low rates. Okay, with our 0 position set, go ahead and close this out. Now we're going to tap back. And this is going to bring you to this menu. Make sure the logic for position 0 is set to and. And we're going to go ahead and disable flight mode for this one. So tap on this menu and then tap on it again and it'll deselect it. Now we need to tap on this button here to go back to the switch select menu. And now we're going to do position 1. So we're going to tap on this switch here. And again, we're going to tap on this side of the radio. And on this switch, we're going to set this as position 1. And then close this out and go back. Make sure flight mode is disabled. And make sure the logic is set to OR. Now we're going to go back and we're going to set position 2. And we're going to repeat all these steps to set position 2. And again, make sure it's set to OR and tap back out. Now we'll go ahead and go back out one more time. And you should see that this position will change as you flick the switch. So for position 0, that's our high rates. Position 1, we're going to want mid rate, so we're going to tap on this. And we'll just change this to, let's see, mid rate, let's do 75%. And we will do 40% Expo. Now click the switch to position 2. And we'll do 50% for low rate. And 30% Expo. And go ahead and test this out on the model now. All right, so here's our high rate. Go to position 1. Here's our mid rate. And go to position 2. And there's our low rate. Okay, now all you got to do is repeat that for your elevator, and for your aileron. Okay, once you got your switch set, just make sure that you verify its function. This is a little hard to do with one hand, but do the best I can. Now, you can set any switch on the radio to your dual rate function. You don't have to use separate switches for each surface. If I do set up dual rates, I just use one switch. And for me, that's this switch here. So all of my rates are controlled by this one switch. But again, you can set any of the switches on the face of the radio to control the dual rates. Now, one last thing about setting switches for your dual rates. You don't actually have to use the same switch for each of your rates. I like to keep it simple, keep everything on the same switch. However, you can set any one of these switches for your rates. So you could have this for your ailerons. You could do this switch for your elevator. You can do this switch for your rudder, or any combination of those. You can even set one position to be high rates for aileron, and then this high rates for aileron and elevator, so on and so forth. The flexibility of the transmitter is really great in that regard. Okay, once you've got all that set, tap this button to go back out. This will bring up the app menu again. Okay, the very last thing that we need to do is set the timer. So you'll find that in the function menu. And if you just scroll all the way over here, this is where it's at. So go ahead and open that. Now, by default, it's inhibited. You can select it to count down, which is you can select it to be on or off. You can even set it to throttle stick. Or you can set it to stopwatch so it continuously runs, and you can set a switch to trigger it. So we want countdown in this case on this model. I need a timer for 7 minutes and 45 seconds. This function right here is the vibration function in the transmitter. You can turn it on or off. And now we need to select a switch. So you can select any switch up here on the face of the transmitter, representative by the graphic. I like to use the throttle stick, so we'll select this part of the graphic, and we'll set this arrow here. Click on position 0, goes out of this, so now we have the throttle stick selected. And we actually need to set an analog position switch for this. Let's go ahead and use this button to go back. And analog position switch you'll find under system. And if you scroll over, you'll find analog position. Now this will load up this app. There are several of them. If you just scroll left to right, you can set them for all kinds of cool functions. We're going to stick with this first one, 00, so tap on inhibit and activate it. Now, in order to use the throttle stick to set the timer on and off, you're going to want to first tap on this and turn this on. Now turn this part off. And then we're going to adjust this up to 90. Or however many percent you want it to come on. If you set it to 90, it'll come on at 10% throttle. 80 is 20%. 30, so on and so forth. Now once you have the position set, you need to tap on input here. And we're going to go to device. And we're going to again select the throttle stick. And now you can see it's highlighted it. So go ahead and tap on this key to go back. And now we have our analog position switch set up. And as you can see, if you move the throttle stick, you can see the trigger on the transmitter moves. Okay, so now go ahead and tap on this key to go back into the app menu. Now tap on function and locate the timer menu again. And tap on switch. Now we've already set up the throttle stick to work on this. We just need to select the analog position switch. So tap on this. Now tap on. You can go on or off. Make sure it's just set to on, then close out of this. And if you test the throttle, you can see how it activates with just a little bit of movement of the throttle stick. So if you go back to the home screen of the transmitter, you can see that the timer is now counting down. And when you get all the way down to the bottom, it stops. Now, if you wanted to come on a little bit later, then right at the bottom where I had it, you can go back in here and to the analog position switch menu, and you can change this value. So I had it set to 90, so it comes on right at the bottom. Close out of this to save this. But if you don't like that, you can actually set it to be much higher. So you can see you got to move the throttle stick a lot more now. But I like it to come on as soon as I'm off idle, so I will leave this at 90. Now, one last thing, before you fly your model, you need to check and verify that your trims are moving in the correct direction. Because of this transmitter's advanced programming functionality, you can change how the trims behave, and that includes direction and trim step. So trim steps is how many steps your trim will move for one click here. So as you can see, if I click it once, it's moving 4 steps, and that can be quite a lot. You know, this is a 3D model, so that's too much for one click. So we're going to change it to be more precise. So to change it to be more precise, let's go ahead and go into the app menu and go to System. And now locate the Trim System app and open this. And up here, you're going to select what function you want to do. So you can do pretty much all the functions of the transmitter. So starting with aileron, this is your step right here. So we're going to change this down to be 1. And now for every click of the trim, you can see how it moves a lot more precisely. Okay, you need to be aware that there is a reverse menu for the trim. It's defaulted to off, and to change it, you just turn it on or off. To tell if your trims are backwards, just start clicking your trim here. So I am clicking to the left, and as you can see on the screen, it says left. However, we're getting right trim. So we actually need to reverse this. So just click reverse. Now you notice the model hasn't jumped. However, if you continue to click in the correct direction, you'll see that the trim does in fact come back. So if I give it left trim now, you can see that the surfaces come back to center. So this is something that you need to check on each of your control surfaces. And again, make sure you don't have too broad of steps, or you may have a model that doesn't want to trim. So on the elevator, I'm going to go ahead and give it up. And we're trimming down. So just go ahead and turn the reverse on. And we'll go ahead and click back up. And the elevator comes back up. So one more time with the rudder. I set the steps really high so you can see it. So if I click it to the left, you can see that it is going the correct direction. And this is something you want to verify on all of the control surfaces. Now, if it were reversed, if I click this to the left, you can see how the rudder trims to the right. So again, you need to verify this. And be aware, if you accidentally set this down to 0, the trim won't work. So it's got to be at minimum set to 1. And then the trims will work. Okay, and that's your basic setup of a new model on the Elite. If you need to know how to reset the timer, tap on it, tap reset, and this will reset it. But otherwise, that's pretty much about it. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please let me know.